Hey, what's up, party people? Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to Fresh
Hello.
Goods. It's good to be back. I'm with
It's good
Nick,
to be back.
Yewan, and me, Jara. And today we're going to talk about friendships and ministry. And I thought it was pretty relevant just because the thing is, we're all in ministry and we've all been in ministry for as long as we could remember and have made friends along the way. But what I'm trying to get at here, with this topic is like, are the friends you make in ministry always long lasting? Because if you think about it, right, maybe this is kind of controversial. Maybe it's something that people need to think about more. But it's like, are we so dependent on the ministry for us to be friends? If you think about it, right, it's kind of like high school. You know, it's like your high school friends. You know, proximity, and you're just there every day. But then when school's over, then you have to really make an effort to see your friends, right? So in the same way, I feel like ministry can kind of take that place like high school. So
I feel that.
yeah. I mean, like,
You sounded like you had something to say.
It did sound like you had something to say, but
I
like,
thought you meant him. I thought you meant Jara. I thought you were about to say something. Sorry.
no, I wasn't. I'm finished.
Okay.
That's kind of just me, like, kind of introducing the topic. I think I said a lot more than I should have. I don't know, but those are my thoughts on that. But what do you guys reckon?
guys
Like,
want to
can you relate to
I
that?
always have something to say,
Sorry.
but I will not say it
Oh,
till you say yours because ladies first.
okay.
Oh. Okay. Well, I was thinking because in high school, right? There's no pressure for you to actually be friends with someone unless you sit next to them in a class, right? In high school, it's like, oh, I kind of have to be friends with you because I'm sitting next to you and I kind of don't want to be awkward. That's the only really necessity for you to be friends with
Right.
someone by like force. By force.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like in the church, when you're referred to as like, oh, your brother and sister in Christ, your family, or how you going, fam, it's hard to kind of not be friends with someone or like just completely exclude them from your lives. But then I feel like it's also the same way, as you said, like you kind of grow accustomed to this feeling of, oh, they're my brother and sister in Christ. And they're also like technically supposed to be your family. Oh, I guess I'll just be friends with them. And there's not much afterthought of, are we kind of similar people? Can I do life with them? I feel like it's a little bit different than high school.
Yeah, I mean, there's different factors involved, but I mean, same, but different.
Is that different?
Well, I'm kind of different from that.
Oh.
I think it's not to do exactly with church or school or anything, but I think it's just life where in my mind, I categorize it as proximity friendships. You're just in the same area, you see each other a lot, so you're naturally going to talk more. And you're going to hang out, and then you're just going to be friends because of that. But how I exclude that to like long-term friendships is, if you really think about it, if you didn't have, let's say, ministry, would you even like speak to this person on the street because you have nothing in common? You're just there because you have something in common, which is ministry, right? Or in the case school, or in the case, I don't know, tuition or something. It's all proximity wise, and that's why you hang out a lot. And then yes, you can build friendships there, but I'm not surprised if once you leave, the friendship fades. It's just because that deeper connection or commonality in terms of what you like and what you do may not be there. So then when you try to catch up, it's like even harder because your friendship was so built around that thing that you were in proximity with. That when you don't have it, what you could talk about, because you're not interested in the same things.
Right.
Like, what are you going to do? You know, your lifestyles are so different. If it wasn't for that, then yeah. But I still think that there can be really lifelong friendships formed through that.
100%.
But I think majority leans onto the proximity setting thing that I was talking about. If you don't really have it in common. And that's where I personally think, like, from ministry, if we're talking that in specific, that's where it creates a lot of place for some people to get a little bit hurt. For me personally, because I've seen, like, you know, we go through like so much stuff, and ministry is not easy. Ministry is hard, and you would think that these are lifelong friendships, but the second someone leaves ministry or changes, you barely hear from them anymore. And then you would naturally think, does this guy hate me? Or like, what happened? But I think honestly, it's just because you don't have that common thing anymore. It just fades. But some people hold on to that so much that it can become quite
because there's such a high expectation. Like, I remember me being in ministry, like for the first time with a big group of other leaders, was the hardest time I found to make friends. Not because they were bad people or anything, but because there was such an expectation and such big pressure that you should be friends and it should be easy.
Because they
Yeah.
always talk about unity, right? And
Yeah.
all these
So it's
things.
Any
So-
youth group, any
Yeah.
youth,
Which is not a
any
bad
ministry
thing.
team.
It's
Yeah.
not a bad
No,
thing,
it's
but I
not.
think
Nah.
it's
It's biblical.
But, yeah, but it just adds. It's an added pressure where it's a little bit like forced to an extent. Like
Yeah.
for example, church is a family, right? Like as in we are brothers and sisters, we love one another, blah blah blah, all that stuff. But then it already unconsciously sets an expectation
tone.
of what we
Yeah.
need to do, especially from ministry, because there is another level of responsibility that we're the carers.
Yeah.
We're the people that are giving it out. So then you're consistently going like, oh man, we're gotta be good, I gotta be good. And then you're building relationships, you're forming it, and that's where the pressure comes from. But then when you really think about it, if it wasn't for this thing where I'm serving in our church, I would probably never talk to you because we have nothing in common.
Yeah.
But it's because of church that brings us together, and that's how the friendships are built.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's always long lasting. It's just because, well, without the church common ground,
Yeah.
I would never talk to you ever. Like, not because you're bad or anything. It's just because I wouldn't have anything like in common with you that our lives probably just wouldn't cross. And if it did, I would probably
Okay,
really
let me ask
struggle.
you guys a question then, right? Is Jesus a big enough thing for you to be able to relate as friends and find friends? Let's say your whole life is different, but
I
you
think
have
yes.
one thing in common, that is Jesus.
I think
is that big
yes.
enough?
Well,
Yes.
it depends. Like, I mean, you can go first, Nick.
I just say yes because I guess that's what all believers should be connected to and with. I believe that if we're all really into a word at that level and stuff like that, then there's always that's enough. You know, worshiping together, praying together, going through life together. Like I think having that is in an ideal world enough.
Right.
But that's just what.
But in the world that we live in,
then
But in the world that
like
we live.
I agree with Nick. Like that's how it should be.
Yeah.
I mean, like yes, that should be definitely a very important element to how we make friends, right? Because the company that you're with kind of really helps you grow spiritually or pulls you down, right? But I think yes, initially I feel like on a surface level maybe it's like a good starter level, like oh yeah, we can be friends because there's a commonality, like Nick was saying, like we're both Christians here, we can become friends. But then there's a further level, like do I actually like this person? You know what I mean? And that's when people start. I guess in a way, I just had a thought. Like that's why church can be cliquey sometimes, because yes, we do have that common factor of Jesus in our lives, but in the end of the day, we are people that like different things, and those people tend to flock together. Different hobbies, different ways of thinking, values, principles. Yeah, like we all kind of have the same thing, but that's why again we also have so many denominations in church.
That is true.
Right? So it's like I get that Jesus does bring us together, but to further and deepen relationship, I feel like there has to be another level to that. Also, a willingness to get to know a person. I feel like,
Okay. Yeah. Follow-up
Yeah.
question. Then do you think the reason why we have so much, I guess this is an easy question, but do you reckon the reason why we have so much quarrel in the church itself is perhaps because we don't actually include that much of God in our lives to have commonality with other Christians?
I didn't really understand the question. We're going to try and answer it like I did. All right,
Okay.
cool.
You want me to
I
rephrase it?
feel like the reason why. Okay, yeah, I forgot. Can you please?
Okay, so you pretty
wait
much
in less
said-
than like 10 words. No, because
yeah, true.
in
Simplify it.
corporate and stuff like
Okay,
you got to be
you mentioned that it should be.
yes.
Jesus
Yep.
yep,
Yep,
alone
yep,
should
yep,
be
yep,
enough, right?
Yep.
Then do you think that our quarrelings in the church is because Jesus in our individual lives is not big enough, and hence that commonality shared is so minuscule? Does that make sense?
So you're saying if more Jesus was in our lives, regardless of the common stuff, it should be better. But
Would
because
it be easier? I'm
I
asking the
th-
question.
I think in an ideal world, yes.
Yes,
But in
ideal
a real
I
world,
agree.
like what
Ideal
Jared says, I
world.
said, then probably no. I don't think it's because of lacking of Jesus. I think it's because of a unrealistic expectation on certain individuals, right? Like, for example, we know that church is for not just, like people that are okay, but it's especially for people who are hurting, because that's why we need Jesus, right? But I think that because when we all come in hurt and then we put our expectations on leaders and people to help us, it puts so much pressure on these individuals to keep performing and building that
Yeah.
instead of, I'm hurt, I come, and then when I get better, I flip into being one of those guys to help serve. We keep expecting more and more and more. And when that gets cut and that's not given anymore because those leaders need to look after other people and help other people, this unhealthy like expectation, there's what is needed compared to what is given is not there because it's unrealistic and it's too much, right?
I feel
Then you get that
Mm.
hurt. Then the people that are receiving so much, they was like, oh my God, these guys hate me, blah, blah, blah. But in reality, there's just so much pressure on certain individuals to keep doing this. It's hard. And also, because people come hurt, right? And the person that cares for them a lot, you obviously look up to them a lot and you care a lot. When you start getting better and it's okay, you become used to it in a sense. So what happens is they would end up having this like, not to say like, how do you say it? Like dependability on them that becomes really unhealthy.
Attachment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But an attachment also that can also come pretty dangerous. And I feel like that's why friendship lots fail because we start with that, but we don't push ourselves into focusing on God and church and what is point, but we just have these unhealthy things. And we always want certain types of people, right? Whereas if there's other people that are in your support system, in your cells or things, but they're not as cool or they're not like the main ones, I don't want that. Then it creates this unhealthy like cycle. And we've seen it a lot, especially being in church for so long.
Yeah.
So that's just my thoughts on your question.
Right. Wow. I mean, Nick answered it really well. I don't really have any further thoughts on that, to be honest.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, because the first time you said it, I didn't quite understand. But if I'm gonna be real,
Yeah.
It's all right.
But I think I don't know. I think it can be scary because I feel that we all hold a certain amount of responsibility to build friendships. Yes, when you first come into church, if you're hurt or you're new, it's okay to receive it. But once you call a place like church home,
yes,
it's also your responsibility to
Ooh, I
start
agree with
giving.
that
Yeah.
so
But I
much.
feel like a lot of us sit in the I'm broken, I need this,
Yeah.
and then there is like 4 people that need to look out for hundreds or like a lot. And then that's where the whole thing comes in. It's like, oh,
that's right.
I feel left out. Oh my God, clicks, blah, blah. But then it's like, because we don't put ourselves in that position, okay, I'm now here, this is my home.
Right.
How can I improve? But what can I do for others?
Right.
But we just want to keep receiving from
I get
certain
that.
people or not.
Yeah.
So then even when other people come
Yeah.
and help and want to be mates, you're like, no, because you only want to be part of a certain group.
Mhm.
And then you get hurt when they don't include you. Stuff like that. You
Yeah.
know, we've seen it from being in a bigger church, right?
Yeah.
Because being in a bigger church, there's so many people.
I think that's also because when, like these days, when people come to church, there's no sense of ownership. This is my home. This is my church home. So I think when people come, it's like, oh, I don't feel the need to make friends. I don't feel the need to connect here because this is my home. I'm just visiting. You reckon? Because like I feel like that applies to your thing of like, oh, I'm just gonna come here to receive, and I'm just gonna leave. You know what I mean? I know this is like going to like a whole nother topic, but I feel like people that come for like just like let me just.
But I feel like
Patch
if
it up.
people know that they're coming just for that, let's say like coming to receive and go, they're not going to have an issue with this because their expectation is I'm just here to receive
Yeah.
the word. And
No,
that's it.
no. As in, I'm talking about like the church as a whole. I feel like there is less and less people actually calling church like an actual church their home, but like just treating church as like, oh, it's just somewhere I go on a Sunday. You know what I mean?
So this is also quite a deviation
No,
from
sorry.
what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But
Nah.
no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But if we go back a little bit
Mhm.
Yeah.
into what we're talking about, which was
Friendships.
Friendships and
Ministry.
ministry, yes.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. I mean, that's what conversation is, right?
Yeah.
It always just grows into something different.
But yeah.
But yeah,
My bad.
I mean,
That's
that is a pretty big thing too. But I think
100%.
in terms of just going back to original question, then like, yeah, it's hard. It's very rare. I think it helps if you were friends before, like you've gone through youth together
Right.
or something. And then, I mean, in our context of youth ministry,
uh-huh.
we gone through being youths together and then we went into leadership. So you already have that friendship built there.
Right.
But let's say in a circumstance of both of us, right? If we weren't friends in high school and then we got into leadership together, then yeah, we would be friends because we're same year, blah, blah, blah. But then after we left, we may not really be as close anymore.
Right.
But it's because we were friends since like in youth when we were in high school. It helps a lot because the foundation's there. Our foundation's not built on us being in ministry.
Right.
Yeah.
I get that.
Because like
Right,
it's just so many different people. I mean, we were in a youth group with a team of like 40 people.
Yeah.
Some of them are so good at caring for others. Some of them are so good at being introverts.
Right.
Like, I mean, connecting with introverts. Some of us are a lot better with the extroverts and
people,
things.
yeah.
It's like it's so different, and you can't expect to
All
be close to
gel.
everyone.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for ministry, because in
Yeah.
realistic,
Yeah.
like we won't talk to certain people at all ever if we weren't there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
I think with that said, just like as I close it up, right? I feel like some friendships that you find in ministry will be the most deepest relationships that you have. And I look forward to growing like old and ugly with some people that I have done ministry with. Like truly.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
You don't agree?
no, I was just trying to say, are you saying all old people are ugly then?
No, I
Yeah, okay. But anyway,
She's just talking about herself.
Yeah,
But
okay, yeah, cool.
I
True.
can't speak for me, but
Yeah. I do skincare, man. I'll be fine.
but
you
no,
don't do skincare.
Don't deviate, bro.
You don't
we're,
do
we're talking about
skincare.
ministry and friendships right now,
but
Okay,
yeah.
what do you put first? Toner or moisturizer?
bro. Soap, water.
That's terrible. You're like one of those.
Let the
3 in
Lord
1.
speak, bro. Let the Lord speak and work in my face. Okay, anyways.
There you go. But yeah, to summarize, I suppose the main points is like what Nick was saying before, which is like ensure that your foundation isn't just on like this one thing that you know.
Yeah.
Make sure that the foundation is actually built on actual relationship, like getting to know the person, putting the effort in there as
Pursue
well.
it.
Not your
Yeah.
circumstance. Don't wait for things to happen, but actually take the initiative to see it through if you really want this friendship to be a thing. Like it's just the same thing as high school. It's like literally coming up. You think that that's done. You've already picked your people, but it actually continues. It's a constant fight.
Yeah. No, for
And
sure.
then what was the thing that you finished on just then? Yeah, one that was really good. What did she say? I forgot.
I look forward to
No, before that. That's great,
some
but
of the friendships that I've built in ministry are the
that's-
best.
that's
like
correct.
One of the deepest
yes.
ones.
And also, we're not saying that you can't make those deep friendships in ministry, but again, it's like on your initiative
it
to
is
further
completely
see
up
it.
to you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Made
yeah,
by you.
that's it.